If you wear this, it's why you're single.
Oh, shit. Tell me.
So, Aussie men have revealed the little things women wear that instantly set off alarm bells, and it could explain why you're still alone. This is by Carly Wright.
Oh, Carly, tell me. What am I doing? What do the men want to see me in?
Men are apparently terrified of pearl earrings, and the revelation is seemingly sending single women into a mild crisis.
Sure. Okay. What? Why? Okay. What?
The bizarre theory, which was spawned by a handful of blokes, aka the known gatekeepers of female fashion, and was recently unpacked by the New York Post, suggesting that the expensive jewelry item gives off high maintenance vibes. Pearls are also majorly intimidating, the men said, meaning women who wear them are walking red flags for potential suitors. Suitors.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, apparently long nails, that's another one. Tiny bags, that's another red flag. It's like, hey, if it's so small that my car keys won't fit, what's the point? Apparently, if a woman has a lanyard for their phone, I assume they are a little careless and used to losing things.
I think it's really funny that men think that any of these women would look at them in the first place.
What about the necklace with the girl's name? It irks me. I feel like it's slightly unsafe. Come on, man. People are going to commit identity fraud because of your necklace with your name on it.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Like, I do think wearing, like, a necklace with your name on it... No, actually, I'm fine with it, because I like name tags. So I'm actually fine with it.
Yeah.
I think name tags are helpful if you're in employment. Someone said a knife, which I guess... Yeah, out of all the red flags that Aussie men have for women, it's just like if she's carrying a knife.
It's just like, I don't think she's interested, eh? I reckon I might dodge her.
I mean, people are entitled to their sexual proclivities. I mean, let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom. But I ain't spending any time on it. But I ain't spending any time. But I ain't spending any time. Let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom. But I ain't spending any time.
Hey, Karen.
Hi, Yanni.
How are we?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing so good. It is a Sunday evening. You have work tomorrow, but I don't, and that's great for me. And
Yay.
Not as good for you.
Not as good for me.
I'm excited that you still have stable employment.
Me too.
I always forget, but we do have a link in our description for a fundraiser for Karam, Beth's friend in Palestine, and we'd love to have you contribute to that if you're able to. We have all the information about it in the description, and we will be talking about, things related to Palestine today, so glad to be able to do what we can.
Mm-hmm.
Kieran.
Yanni.
Friday, the 4th of July. You remember that?
Yeah, Freedom Day.
Yeah, a day that usually commemorates the landing of the first fleet of convicts on Australian shores.
Up.
A 34-year-old man named Angelo... Wait, Karen, we haven't introduced the podcast.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Hi, everybody. This is Shouldn'ta Come.
Yeah.
We are an Australian political, cultural, societal analysis podcast.
We're an Australian podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I guess we're just talking about some stuff.
We're just, there is a goal somewhere. We're trying to figure out what the aim of the podcast is, but we're just trying to get to the bottom of all this.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Angelo Loras, a 34-year-old man who allegedly tried to set fire to a synagogue in East Melbourne. It doesn't work. Nobody is hurt. And he is charged and arrested within a couple of days. And if you know me, Kieran, you know what the first thing I did is.
You were like, what color is he?
That's exactly right. I Googled Loras last name ethnicity, which is the first thing I do whenever there's a crime like this.
Yep.
This is my usual reaction to a big public violence style incident. This is inspired by what I call the white passing Latino mass shooting exemption for the United States.
Yep.
The media doesn't quite know how to cover these moments if there's not an easy ethnic story to attach it to.
Pretty much. They're like, oh shit, do we have to look into societal, ills?
Do we need to look into the gray area? This isn't just like a...
I can't just point and be like, oh, yeah, of course, you're from location.
Exactly, or it's like isolated white person. Yeah, in Australia, I'm mainly just trying to make sure that that it is a white person who's committed whatever crime, because it's just I don't want to deal with it. If somebody from one of the scary races does it, there's going to be somebody in my life who finally snaps and decides it's the moment they become racist.
Yeah, and we'll have another Cronulla.
Or just like me not liking someone. So you can imagine...
Just as devastating.
Just as devastating. Because it's like, No matter who it is, no matter what race, someone, is liable to be like, I've had it up to here with the fucking Tunisians or whatever. You know?
Yeah, and then you have to be like, oh no.
It's like, oh.
Oh, Sandra. Okay.
You've been like this whole time?
Damn. I
Sandra
gotta go.
from Neighbours?
Sandra from Neighbours, your favorite show.
Yeah, I love Neighbours. And I love the relief I felt when I saw that Laura seems to be like an Anglo or Norman or otherwise European name.
Okay.
The websites that talk about last names say French, usually, sometimes Scottish or whatever. Like, this is a white guy.
Yeah.
And his first name is Angelo. That doesn't sound very Iranian.
No.
Does it?
No.
Sounds like Anglo.
Yeah.
Right? You know.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
I don't?
No, neither do I. We don't know names like that, really.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm not going to say, like, if somebody's called Angelo, I'm going to say, like, oh, like, Spanish, Italian?
Yeah, I guess, but, like, Loras is a name from kind of anywhere, because it's just two syllables, pretty simple syllables put together
Yeah.
in English. And Angelo, well, that could be any number of things, really. We're talking about Christianity.
Yeah, also true.
There's a Twitter account that popped up with the name Angelo Loras, and it has the location is Sydney, and the bio as single Iranian forklift driver, music lover, only one type. I don't know what to make of that. He's a single Iranian forklift driver. He has one tweet. It's a reply to a video of Charlize Theron, and his tweet says, "Like always, the best."
Simply the best.
Damn.
Yeah, his Instagram is a bunch of like gayish thirst traps. And that is your first slide.
Oh, goodness. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Like, you'll know what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's Angelo. Make sure your color's on as well.
it is.
Yeah.
What is that, like mesh leopard print?
Yeah, right?
With the dangly sword earrings?
With the dangly sword earrings.
He's got long hair. It looks like it could be, like, mulletish.
It is a bit mulletish. It's certainly long hair. He's
Painted nails.
He's a bit of a tank. Like,
Yeah.
his muscles seem huge, but these are very much like kind of clumsy, but I would say queer-coded, thirst trappy kind of pictures.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And this Instagram account has the subheading, born 29th August 1990, citizen lives in Sydney, Australia. Which sounds fake.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's got your birthday, date, month, and year of your birth, and where you live on your Instagram account where you just post pictures of yourself?
That's really weird.
How'd that happen?
And also, like, the kind of person who's going to be posting pictures of themselves online, like, very much like selfies showing off and stuff, is probably going to have more of a social media awareness and presence than just like, here is my legal information.
Right? That's so strange. And there's a Facebook account that's, similarly little content, some of the same pictures, and it has the bio TrueX, and that seems to be a Yamaha branded soundbar.
TrueX, a system that offers new ways to enjoy home entertainment.
Right.
The whole bio is just TrueX in capital letters. Anyway,
What?
Yeah. So this guy allegedly trying to set fire to this synagogue happened the same night a bunch of people stormed and trashed an Israeli-owned restaurant chanting, "Death, death to the IDF." The Bob Vylan thing.
Yep.
Bob Vylan. I understand it's villain. The events are absolutely disconnected. Angelo, if this is the guy who's done all this, I think pretty clearly has a weird little life. We have some security camera footage, and he's no longer clean-shaven. He seems to have done this by himself, presumably having kind of lost his mind a little, looking at the world that doesn't make any sense. We'll probably get something of his story soon. I'm sure they're going to, dig into it.
Yeah.
But I doubt we're going to get the telling that squares with what we know about the world. Like, he didn't successfully set the place on fire. He rang the doorbell a couple of times after trying to do it. It's not a well-thought-out plan. Like, the door is a little charred. Your next slide has a picture of Angelo kind of running away from the scene and then the door.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see. Yeah, he's got a bit of a beard going, still with the long hair. Yeah, the door is like, maybe like halfway up? Has got some burn marks.
But it's but
It's very much like the door is still like, I mean, I think a coat of paint would fix that.
that's the thing. Like
Like,
I'm
it's not- it's-
not to say that it's I guess nice to go around burning doors or whatever. but
No.
this seems to be, from what little we know so far, like a kind of crazy loon who snapped.
Yeah.
And can you blame him? Because the restaurant, on the disconnected incident the same night, that is being reported as though it's part of this ongoing campaign. But the owner of the restaurant is connected to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. That is the group that sets up food relief sites for Palestinians and then lines them up and the IDF shoots them. That's been happening over the last couple of months or whatever.
Fucking insane.
It's people going to this restaurant to eat and to have a good time that, rankle people who are aware of what's happening. And they maybe believe that those people don't deserve to have this particular distraction from the mundanity and heartlessness of their lives. Like, I don't think anyone would care if those people all went to, like, Guzman and Gomez or whatever.
No.
But it's like you're going to the Israeli, like, humanitarian relief restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think they deserve to be enjoying themselves. So fucking good on everyone who trashed that place. And if you're framing that as anti-Semitic rather than anti-Zionist, we can assume what your assumptions are.
Yes.
But back to Angelo. Here is how the Jerusalem Post reported on it.
The man charged with firebombing a Melbourne synagogue on Friday night is allegedly Iranian. Okay. Damn. We're putting that down as one of his crimes?
Allegedly Iranian.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's what they're legally forced to say, but I don't know how you get to the point of writing allegedly Iranian without taking a good hard look at what you're doing.
Right, what the fuck?
Oh, wait. They have. Everyone has. We're forced to accept their point of view.
Fuck. Corey Worthington in the darkest timeline.
God. Yeah, he is ultimately in charge of the IDF. They've actually got Corey Worthington over there.
Damn.
He's
not. He'll
he's on top of
apologize,
he's on
but he's
top-
not going to stop killing Palestinians.
Well, that's exactly right. No, I don't want to slander. Actually, you reckon Corey Worthington?
I don't think he has a single thought about this.
You're right.
I don't think he gives a shit. I think he's busy being Corey Worthington.
I think you're right, and it's fair enough to him.
It sort of just got out of hand, and yeah.
The phrase firebombing is an interesting one, because I presume a firebomb is like an explosive,
Yeah, absolutely.
flammable situation, whereas this seems like, he maybe lit something on fire in front of the...
He poured a flammable liquid on the door and tried to light it on fire, and it didn't quite work. I don't know if it's because people got there too soon, but whatever it is, it didn't quite work. Angelo's alleged Iranianness was hammered in by Australian Zionist influencers like Menachem Vorkheimer,
What a name.
the Times of Israel, Chaim Gleitman, and the Herald Sun.
Of
who
course.
made sure that we all know that this guy's Twitter says that he's Iranian.
Yep.
On his still active at the time of writing social media accounts, his comments are all like macho white men and Israeli dudes calling him a faggot and such.
Ah, of course.
There's one that's like, I'd like to see him try that outfit on in Iran.
You know what? That's something that certainly pisses me off, is people being like, oh, well, actually, as a member of the LGBTQIA, you should actually, hate Iran because they kill you. They'd kill you if they could.
They'd kill you if they could.
And I'm like, cool, awesome. That is not my current concern.
Yeah, it's not, we're a few levels below dealing with that right now.
Hey, you might not know about this, but I'm here.
Yeah, I'm here, and there's no missiles here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all this stuff with Angelo Loras is not, it's going on in parallel with the ABC and the Age and, actual news sources and even Nine and Sky News. None of them have printed that Angelo is Iranian because they have, that's not verified yet.
Yeah, they don't have any evidence other than random social media things. And this happened as well recently, where some news organizations just took somebody's name and ran with it and was like, this is the guy who did stabbings in the mall, in one of the mall stabbings in Melbourne or Sydney.
I think so.
And this guy was like, hi, everyone, please, sorry, I didn't do any stabbings. Please stop sending me hate mail.
Yeah, I don't need these death threats. I'm
Yeah.
a different person.
It's like, hey, I'm a student. I don't...
Yeah, I think that was...
I don't even live in that area.
I
Can
think
you...
it was the Joel Couchy.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, but that has happened before, and look, again, I don't know if that's not this guy. That's not really my concern.
No.
It comes at an interesting time for Iranian Australians in general. With the random 12-day war in Iran that happened in June. You remember that?
That was intense and then suddenly stopped.
Yeah. Over that couple of weeks, about 1,000 Iranians were killed by Israeli strikes and 28 Israelis were killed in retaliation. And it's not clear if that 1,000 counts the more than 100 trans and gender non-conforming people that were killed by an airstrike by Israel that hit Evin prison. So that's one of those terrible torture political death holes that a lot of big nations have. It's one of the worst things, and Israel managed to just make it worse.
That old gem.
It's like, oh, you've rounded them up for us, let's just bomb
Oh,
them.
wonderful.
With these precision targeted airstrikes that they're always bragging about. So
So stupid.
this incident and the reaction to it is what I'd like to focus on today. Ultimately, Israel and the United States had a little tantrum, flattened some residential buildings, killed a bunch of scientists and civilians, and bombed nuclear sites, with spies committing acts of small-scale domestic terrorism all over the country of Iran. And that's not really Australia's problem. I think everyone should be concerned about this, blah, 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 but it's not affecting the price of bread or whatever.
No.
Except the ABC and our stupid little political leaders did come out to reaffirm our friendship with the Israeli people, condemn Iran's nuclear program, and spruik continued support for AUKUS, the military partnership with the United Kingdom and the United States. At first, they were kind of apologizing for Israel acting like a baby with a hammer, but then they explicitly said that they supported the United States follow-up bombing. They also aren't denying that Australian bases were used in the US attack, which was absolutely illegal under international law, but what of this isn't?
Yeah, I was about to say, I do remember questions about them using Pine Gap
Yes.
was brought up, and then everyone was like, haha, next question.
Yeah, the reaction, and we'll get into it briefly, but the reaction is generally like, I don't know why you're asking that, we wouldn't talk about that. Because the people want to know, because we don't think this is fair.
Yeah.
I guess what got me most was kind of the non-reaction, a collective shrug like what always happens, but I was really going through it, and I was receiving spiritual signals and having visions. That is, I was drinking heavily when this happened, and so it really got to me. The Australian public is told by their political leaders and the paper of record that what happened was an outcome of Iran's unique, scary evilness.
Of course.
Even the word regime, which is exclusively used to describe Iran, is a scary, spooky word.
Yeah.
It's a word that just means governance or management or rule, but you don't describe your workplace and your boss as being a regime unless you really hate management.
Yeah. And you really don't go oh yeah, the French regime.
Exactly. That you're trying to say something negative about that.
Yeah.
Even though it's, correct in a vocabulary sense.
Yeah, in the same way that asylum seeker is a dirty word.
Yeah.
Even though it's
that's a really good way of putting it.
to seek asylum is you know.
You do, in this country, you do see a lot of words turn into sounds.
Yeah.
And then turn into different words. The ABC will still refer to the United States as being run by the Trump administration, and that's Trump. And even this late in the date, Israel is usually referred to as having the Netanyahu government. Which is fucked up because the ABC is still also trying to throw Netanyahu specifically under the bus for the entire thing.
Yeah.
But they can't bring themselves to refer to him in any terms but respect. It's not the Netanyahu regime. It's not the Israeli regime. It's not his party's regime. It's the government. I tried to dissolve my soul into this viewpoint, the extremely scary viewpoint, the white Australian viewpoint, and I can only see it if I really squint, that Australia is ultimately a military outpost really far down. The goal of Australia, though it's been built up and embedded and embiggened, we are here to stare at China, India, Indonesia, and I guess southern Iran to keep them in line for the good of whiteness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of wild when you put it like that, but it also makes a lot of sense, especially in how we're utilized internationally, because what else is the point?
No, it's like a refueling stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Emperor America needs our resources, I don't know, at least 34 military installations around Australia, we do have to give it to him. Karen, your next slide has a map of U.S. military facilities in Australia.
Oh, good. Excited to see this. Oh, wow. There's a lot of dots. What am I counting here? So what we have RAAF bases, we have air warfare destroyers.
There's a lot of different types
training
of things.
bases.
Yeah.
Seismic stations, but there is quite a few.
Yeah.
I'm counting them really quick.
There's 34 in that image, I
Yeah.
think. And that's not all men in uniform.
No.
It's mainly, as you said, training bases, and they are in turn mostly in the Northern Territory and some along the Eastern Seaboard.
I always forget about NASA and Tidbinbilla.
Yeah. Tidbinbilla being owned by NASA or whatever, and NASA being part of the military or whatever. Weird thing. That's a nature reserve near Canberra, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah, I love Tidbinbilla. Pine Gap in the middle of the country, that's where U.S. spy planes are controlled from, where they're menacing China. For a third of the world, it's controlled from Pine Gap. If there's some actual future where the United States does go to a war with Iran or ultimately with China, a lot of those sites in the Northern Territory and the Eastern Seaboard will be pretty quickly activated.
Yeah.
And we will not be allowed to complain about that.
No.
Are you ready for that?
Am I ready for it? God,
Yeah.
no.
Hell yeah.
God, no. Here's what's going to happen. I think it well, obviously fuck us completely, like, but there's nothing we can do about it.
No.
Our government has already, and like our entire society is already shaped to just be whatever America needs us to be.
Exactly.
And so it's like, okay, when they make the decision to activate that, it's like, well, shit, guess we're fucked.
Guess that's it.
Yeah.
Whoopsie doopsie. Or we'll just reorient our entire economy toward the war effort.
Yeah.
So here's what Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister Richard Marles had to say about how we'd be able to help the United States if they dropped bombs over Beijing. Australia's geography today is more relevant to great power contest than it has been at any point since the end of the Second World War, arguably at any point in our history.
Right.
Basically saying that it's more important for big geopolitical thinking and big geopolitical power imbalances that we are here right now than it has ever been since the Second World War when we were used to fight Japan.
Yeah, like, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, I guess it's nice that you think so highly of our country and you think that we matter on some level.
But he's not saying that. He's saying that Australia matters because of the geography of Australia. If a war with China breaks out,
Yeah.
Australia becomes important
Yeah, I think,
because it's close to China compared to the US.
yeah, which I get. I think it's just silly. I love listening to people talk about like, oh, well, actually, you know, in this event, we're really going to be pretty critical. And on one hand, factually, yes, like you're right. By distance, by geography, you know, we are right here. But I think there's a lot of hubris in all of these things
There
that just
is.
kind of like makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, yeah, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be really
We're
important.
going to be really important,
They're going
buddy.
to let you be in charge.
Yeah, you've got this.
You're the defense
champ.
minister of Australia.
That's pretty important. That's a pretty big job.
Yeah, where I guess like if it were to happen, what would be is that a bunch of Americans show
We'll
up
just
and
come
be
in and be like, we
"Get
own
out.
this now.
This
yeah.
is ours now.
Exactly. Like there's not going to be consultation with Australian officials. Are you
No.
serious? You're placeholders.
No, absolutely. I think what he's saying in terms of like he's saying basically using a lot of words to say if there's a war with China, Australia's right here.
Yeah.
And the fact that as defense minister he's saying that, the implication is like, are you thinking about that? Is there going to be a war with China? Do you know something we don't know?
Yeah. Pretty much because it's like, hey man, those feel like pretty inciting words. Like, are we expecting an issue?
Exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise, why would you be saying it?
Exactly, because otherwise that's just a country. We don't say that about Fiji.
Yeah. You know, hey, if we were to have war with New Zealand, I mean, we're right here.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, are we going to?
If the United States were to go to war with New Zealand, Australia would become very strategically important.
Yeah.
And Winston Peters is like, excuse
It's like,
me?
sorry, what?
Wait, what was the other guy? What was Christopher Luxon? I think it was his name.
Yeah,
The Prime
not
Minister.
Jacinda Ardern.
Not Jacinta Ardern. He's probably like, are they coming?
Yeah, just like, hey guys,
hey guys.
what do you know that I don't?
Yeah, I need to know. Anyway, we'll talk more about China one day, but for now, thankfully, things like sizzled over in Iran. Again, 1,000 people are dead,
Yeah.
and significant damage has been done to infrastructure, but it didn't turn into boots and tanks rolling down the streets of Tehran. We did get a little preview, however, of how the propaganda machine for a polite society, Instagram clips of the Prime Minister shared by ABC and stuff, would react if there was a big war on the horizon. And perhaps that'll be instructive. So we're going to kind of learn about Iran, I guess. I don't know. This is going to be a weird episode. What else is new? First, I spent a bit of time trying to figure out who is the most disproportionately represented national group in Australia is. So I did a quick and dirty Excel solution. I got the ABS's statistics for foreign-born population. I figured out the ratio of each immigrant group to the whole. So, for instance, there's about 600,000 New Zealand-born Australians out of about 8 million total overseas-born Australians. So that means New Zealand-born Australians are 7% of the total immigrant population in Australia. Kiwis make up 0.06% of the world population, so they are disproportionately represented immigrants.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
That makes sense.
I did this because I had a vague idea that Iran would be either weirdly high or weirdly low if I put these tables together, right?
Yeah.
So comparing the ratios, a ratio of 1 means that the immigrant population in Australia is exactly proportional to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So it's 2% of the world and 2% of Australia's immigrants. Lower than 1 means that there's much less, and higher than 1 means there's much more. I'm calling this the ratio because we won't need to use it again. It's very silly.
Perfect.
Anyway, at the top you have some of the smaller Pacific islands. The Cook Islands and Niue have a ratio of over 500.
Dang.
Yeah, so there's 500 times more people from those places here compared to the amount of people from those places that there are that you'd expect if, for some reason, it was evenly distributed, which
Yes,
obviously
yes.
it's not. They're Pacific Islands close to here.
Yeah.
New Zealand is 6th on the list with 112 as their ratio.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to me, and I'm sure everyone listening. The first non-Pacific country on the list is Bhutan, which is like a little weird, but it is small and close. And then there's North Macedonia, with a ratio of 26, and I'm sure there's a fun story or two there, but that's not important. The bottom of this list was fairly predictable as well. That is, the least represented ethnic groups in Australia. Perhaps unsurprisingly, it's mainly relatively poor African nations and Haiti, with North Korea and Niger at the very bottom. Niger's ratio is 0.001, which means there's 1,000th as many Niger people among Australia's immigrant population as there are Niger people in the world.
Yes, yeah.
I thought it would be interesting to see what the lowest European country on the list was, and it turned out it was obviously Russia. On the other hand, the highest ranked African country, other than the Indian Ocean islands of the Seychelles, was obviously South Africa, with a ratio of 3.3.
Okay, that makes sense.
There are 4 countries with a ratio between 0.95 and 1.05. So
Okay.
I suppose you can call them properly represented in this
Yeah.
silly exercise. So
Yeah.
countries where the amount of the people of that country in the world and the amount of those people among Australia's immigrant population for foreign-born people is the same, roughly.
Yeah.
It's St. Kitts and Nevis, Iceland, Cheshire, and Iran.
Huh.
Yeah. Not only is there really nothing there, but Iranians are one of the most proportionately accurately represented ethnic groups in the country.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, I put that together for less than no reason.
I like it though, because it kind of shows like, we know quite a few Iranian people,
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know about, if we were in the global village, that is exactly how many Iranian people you would expect to know, given like equal proportion of like,
Yeah.
distribution percentage-wise of countries and such.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
That is wild.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, but it does mean I put this all together for no reason, and if you'd like access to this spreadsheet for your own research, no, I don't trust your motivations. But Iranian Australians, like you said, are a normal-ass fabric of the part of our society. Normal-ass part of the fabric of our society, rather. It's in stark contrast to Iran, portrayed as uniquely evil terrorists that threaten the entire fabric of society.
Yeah.
So let's take our minds back to June the 13th, Australian time, when we learned about Israel unleashing a string of attacks across Iran and Iran sending some missiles back later that were mostly intercepted. What's being alleged is that Iran is close to creating a nuclear weapon, that they are absolutely trying to create that weapon, and that the plan for that weapon is to use it against Israel. This sort of maniacal, paranoid behavior is what we call preemptive strikes. And they eventually become a self-fulfilling prophecy. It comes after decades of Western interference in Iran, including a 20-year or so campaign of coordinated cyber attacks, car bombings, and regular missiles by Israel. In one bizarre passage, Operation Olympic Games, which George Bush started and Barack Obama strengthened, they installed the virus Stuxnet onto Iranian computers and remotely fucked up a bunch of centrifuges. So, just hacking into their shit to make their physical infrastructure worse. To ensure as little livability as possible in Iran, the country is also subject to sanctions imposed by the United Nations or the United States government. This is at least since the 70s. For a listener who doesn't quite know what that means, a sanction is when the US says, if you sell these guys food or buy oil from them, we will stop trading with you or maybe even attack you. Australia signed on to new sanctions in 2010, about a month into the Julia Gillard regime. They upped the sanctions in 2013 near the end of the Gillard regime, both times to put pressure on Iran to comply with its nuclear non-proliferation obligations. That's always the thing. That's always been the thing. Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. They cannot be trusted to follow the non-proliferation treaty. So that's another fancy-sounding term. You know what the non-proliferation treaty is, Karen?
Just means like don't make more nuclear weapons, right?
Yeah.
Everybody kind of was making nuclear weapons and then was like, oh no, I guess the Cold War was probably pretty bad. Let's all agree not to make any more.
Yeah, that's pretty much right. Prevent them from spreading. A big part of the treaty is that it does allow for atomic energy. And a lot of people have a problem with that. I think it's fair enough to have a problem with that, but you'll hear a lot about Iran's obligations to the treaty, and occasionally at the end of these articles, you might hear that Israel does not sign on to the treaty.
Yeah.
Iran is often criticized for failing to meet the obligations to a treaty that Israel is not a signatory of. To be fair, neither are India or Pakistan or North Korea, who were signed on but left in 2003. And then Israel. They have something like a few hundred nuclear warheads, with ministers publicly contemplating dropping them on Gaza. They also have a policy of deliberate ambiguity about their nuclear warheads, which makes me very annoyed.
Yeah. Because it's just some fuck shit. Like, they are genuinely doing evil mastermind shit. The shit that people accuse, or like how the media portrays Iran or, you know, Iraq back in the day, or like
Saddam.
all of these like evil Middle Eastern countries.
Osama.
Yeah. But then when it's Israel, which isn't a Middle Eastern country, don't you know?
No, they're a Western democracy.
They're a Western democracy. And geographically, I don't know, that's just crazy. Anyway.
They're in Eurovision.
Yeah, you know, they're European, basically. Yeah, it can just be like, yeah, we have them. It's like, oh, how many? We have them. We have plenty.
No, they don't admit to having any. They are deliberately ambiguous about whether they and how many they have, nuclear weapons-wise. And yet they'll... Look, when Colin Powell's emails were leaked in 2015, so that's former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell and the guy who lied to the UN about Iraq having weapons of mass destruction. It was revealed that, per Colin Powell, Israel had 200 nuclear warheads all targeted on Tehran. They're just exempt from having to admit to having these things. And it's kind
That's
of...
insane.
Well, it's kind of because of the Israeli right to exist doctrine that we are a party to, and it's kind of because Iran is an official state enemy. Some might say we are the baddies.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we are just henchmen, because after all, we are all the way the fuck over here. So what we're going to do today, Kieran, is react to how the media reacted to how our politicians reacted to Iran's reaction to Israel's random bombing of a bunch of houses and such. We'll start with a broad look at how the Australian media at large framed the initial strikes before later diving into the ABC and the government line. You do get some of the more debased stuff. News.com.au printed the preemptive strike nonsense that Israel uses to justify their decades of well-documented heinous and unprovoked aggression and atrocity. Israeli officials have been claiming for about 20 years that Iran is mere weeks away from developing a nuclear bomb that they're going to drop on Tel Aviv's Pride Parade. This deep into what's been happening, I would say that the bald-faced reproduction of Israeli government claims is tantamount to perjury, but that's fine. That's news.com.au. Their job is subservience to power and telling us about titties. They give us some really obvious examples of double standards regarding the attacks, especially when you know the context of the actual death tolls and the history of Israeli state-sponsored terrorism. Karen, if you could read the headline on the next slide.
Israel unleashed a new wave of attacks against Iran on Monday, targeting missile sites after Tehran carried out deadly overnight strikes and both sides threatened more devastation.
It's subtle, but also, eye-rollingly obvious. What makes Iran's attacks deadly?
Yeah.
They killed way less people.
Yeah.
And they quote Bibi Netanyahu saying in the article, Iran will pay a heavy price for the premeditated murder of civilians, women, and children. There were 10 Israeli casualties at that point, and whenever you hear about people wounded in Israel, keep in mind that their health ministry includes anxiety and panic attacks as being wounded. So, it's very woke. Very good.
Yeah.
Your lived experience.
Viva the West.
Thing about having a lived experience is that you don't have one if you're dead.
Yeah.
They repeated and reinforced this message a couple of days later at news.com.au. This is another headline that you can read on your next slide.
Iranians and Israelis woke to smoke and rubble on Sunday after the arch rivals expanded their attacks overnight, with Israel striking Tehran's defense ministry and Iran unleashing a deadly barrage of missiles. Yeah, it sounds like, oh, Israel shot a building and Iran murdered a city.
Yeah, exactly. And Iran's missiles are deadly and they're arch rivals. You start to see the sort of childish sport-like language.
Yeah.
You can't blame the media, given our consumer base here, for specializing in this kind of pablum, but they're also to blame for our consumer base's illiteracy, so then you can blame them again.
Yeah.
So it's great. We did it.
We did it.
Yay, perfect.
We did it.
Yeah.
We did it!
Nine News continued the soap opera idiocy, talking about the two bitter Middle East adversaries, saying the simmering tension had been growing for weeks ahead of attacks. But they finish off making sure that we know what's important.
In a sign of the far-reaching implications of the emerging conflict, Israel's main airport was closed and benchmark Brent crude spiked on news of the attack, rising nearly 8%.
Do you know what that means?
What the fuck is benchmark Brent crude?
Oil prices.
Of course it's oil. Of course it's oil.
So when they were like, don't, like, this is going to make the oil price go up.
Uh-oh.
Watch out.
Oil.
The Brent crude.
Not that Brent crude, not crude Brent.
What about crude Brent?
Yeah, crude Brent, that cunt.
That fucking cunt. Crude Brent, he doesn't know about pottery yet.
Oh, fucking crude. Oh, he's so fucking crude.
Crude Brent lives in a cave.
Crude Brent doesn't even know the wheel yet. Fucking piece of shit.
Okay, so when we're talking about news being shared widely on social media, we are playing around with children when we look at news.com.au or the Nine Network. Those aren't real news sources. Let's take a gander of the big boys with bad bulletins.
All right, let's go.
Here's a couple of headlines from the always swooning Daily Motherfucking Mail.
So thrilled.
It's a couple of headlines I kind of combined together to make one big terrible one.
Okay, great. Israel launches preemptive strikes on Iran as Prime Minister vows Jewish state won't be victim of nuclear holocaust, and Jerusalem declares special emergency in fear of all-out war. Jesus fucking
They
Christ.
dropped it all in there.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Nuclear holocaust? That's not really on the table.
No.
But they said it so we can print it?
Yeah,
What the fuck
fuck
is
it.
that?
Fuck it, why not?
People are terrified reading that.
That's so fucking
People are
stupid.
going to be reading that and being like, oh, I heard they're doing a nuclear holocaust in Israel.
even worse than the first one.
Fuck. So the Sydney Morning Herald tends to be the most dogshit, cynical, war hawkish, and unreasonable of the major newspaper websites. There's so many bad choices that it's hard to be certain about who the worst is, but the SMH, and I mean SMH,
You know.
they're probably a contender. Their readers want all the nitty-gritty details of how cool the war is, the strategies, the tactics, the breakdown. I think the SMH tends to have some of the best and most incisive sports coverage amongst mainstream Australian press, and that is as big an indictment as I can give of a newspaper. Here's their headline and opening paragraph of their description of how things unfolded in Israel, in Iran.
How Israel's pre-dawn assault on Iran unfolded, moment by moment. It was fast, targeted, and deadly. In a split second, a quiet pre-dawn Tehran erupted into a furious inferno.
Like, they're gonna fucking come in their pants immediately. Like,
Yeah,
they're
what
so
the
fucking cool.
fuck?
The article that leads to is a gorgeously animated multimedia presentation that breaks down the series of events, like when they bombed which building or whatever.
Jesus Christ.
And it's amazing how much space you can use on a page, especially on mobile mode, to say one thing over and over again. Here's a little screenshot from the article for you that is mostly a bunch of text with a couple of images. And I feel like it says something important about our ability to read, understand discourse, or stay engaged with information. This is the events of 6 a.m. on, I think, the day before the attack.
Yeah. 6 a.m. Israeli strike on Iran could very well happen, says Trump. Trump warns an Israeli strike could very well happen if Iran doesn't reach a deal over its nuclear weapons capabilities. I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like it's something that could very well happen, Trump tells reporters at the White House. And then there's a picture of Trump, and then underneath a quote that says, I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like something that could very well happen. And then a US flag.
And what's it say under the US flag?
Under the US flag, it says US President Donald Trump.
Like,
That's so fucking stupid.
it could very well happen.
It could very well happen.
Trump said it could very well happen.
And then the full quote, well, it could very well happen.
Trump said it wasn't imminent, but it could very well happen.
It could very well happen.
That was Donald Trump.
Donald
US
Trump
president.
said, yeah, it could very well happen.
Here's the flag of the US if you don't know who
In case
Donald
you'd
Trump
forgotten,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that says worse things about reading or our, the desired level of comprehension that the media would have us take home. Other bites from the article included quotes of Bibi Netanyahu saying, today, Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. It's not a very good Bibi voice. I'll try again. And
Jesus
The
fucking
operation will
Christ.
take as long as is needed to complete the task of fending off the threat of annihilation against us. You know, Benjamin Netanyahu.
You know, Jesus fucking Christ.
We then get some thinly veiled anti-Semitic propaganda from Iran's supreme leader, who says Israel has unleashed its wicked and bloody hand in a crime against Iran that reveals its vile nature. Which is true.
You know?
But the effect of printing it is to be like, these Iranians, they're so mystical.
Oh, they hate the Jews and
They
stuff.
hate the Jews for, like, wicked and vile reasons.
They're like, Yeah, and it's like, well, yeah, because they've done some wicked and vile things.
You can't mention it. Nothing's happened until October 7.
Nothing has happened.
And
nothing happens afterwards.
nothing happened after. So yeah, but that's the basic gist of what the media story is. Yeah, like Israel is at constant risk of another Holocaust, and Iran is about to do it with a nuclear bomb. And even though this might lead to oil prices rising, we have to bomb Iran, but in a sexy way, because the evil Iranian regime is going to bomb Israel, but in an evil, scary way.
Yeah, exactly. Very unsexy.
So let's get to the ABC. They are, gosh, I don't know what the ABC is, Karen. How does the ABC work?
Well, it's the Australian Broadcasting Company.
Corporation.
Yeah, sure, why not? And I guess, I don't know, theoretically it's meant to be kind of like impartial, but aren't all news sites meant to be impartial?
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. I have conflicting views on the ABC.
I don't know either. We know that they have been found in court to be subservient in some way to an orchestrated campaign by pro-Israel lobbyists, and that's a wonderful thing to be able to cite a court record for.
You know?
Like, I can't get in trouble for that. We talked recently about how Ida Buttrose's last act as chair was to sack Antoinette Lattouf for daring to point at the thing that everybody knows is happening in Palestine.
Yep.
The genocide. They replaced her with Kim Williams, former Foxtel CEO and AFL commissioner who describes himself as a lifelong dedicated supporter of the State of Israel.
Great.
He explicitly believes that using Zionism to criticize Israel is wrong, and he was accused of meddling in local media to make sure his friend Ostentatious got gigs in press. You remember when we spoke about this recently?
Yes, I do.
Kim also has a degenerative neurological condition, and Here's Kim. Here's Kim talking about some Kim stuff. As the chair of the ABC. Kim. Talking about some Kim stuff.
All right, let's go. This is Kim Williams. I was given this speech in the Parliament, actually, and Mum appeared on the other side of the stage and started to walk across to me. She had died a couple of days before. Then she came across the stage and she stood on my right-hand side. I was continuing to endeavour to give the speech, and I did actually falter then, and I did weep a little, which was very embarrassing. I recovered myself and kept on going. But I know the audience was enormously perplexed. She visited me many times. She tapped me on the shoulder at night, and I spoke to my dearly loved auntie, who was one of her 3 sisters. And my auntie said, I'll have a word with her. Anyway, Mum stopped visiting. What?
All right, you ready? Watch me do it. I'm going to be ableist and anti-Semitic.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
If you're seeing actual ghosts and you're a Zionist, you shouldn't be in charge of the national broadcaster.
Yeah, what the fuck?
That's Kim Williams. He's seeing these ghosts. He's friends with Ostentatious. Ostentatious also is like a Jewish guy, and I think he's accusing all these bars of anti-Semitism for not booking him or whatever.
Okay, sure.
I think that's part of this, but I don't know. Anyway, that's the ABC.
Jesus Christ. That...
My dead mom's ghost came up
I feel
to me.
like so many times we'll learn something about someone and I'm like, and you got a good job? And you've got a good job? So what, I just need to start like forgiving war crimes and seeing dead people and then I can have a good job?
Then I can have
Are
a
you
good
serious?
job or
Fuck
be
me.
in charge of the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Look, I mean, this comes with revelations over the last couple of days that Gillian Siegel, the anti-Semitism envoy, also is a big far-right donor. And this is someone who was appointed by Anthony Albanese. Like, these motherfuckers kind of can't get out of their own way.
Yeah,
But
just like, hey, be morally bankrupt.
it's like, oh, hey, all these morally bankrupt people are also fucking weirdos. So, the ABC. Dr. Richard Bean, and I'm so sorry, but that's Dr. Dickie Bean. But
Dick Bean.
we do like him, Dr. Big Dick Bean. He did an analysis of the ABC radio breakfast program over the 14 months from the beginning of the demolishment of Gaza. So this is the end of Ida Buttrose's regime
Nice.
and the beginning of the Williams Doctrine. From the basic numbers, you can see the implied bias towards Israel. Israeli guests featured more than twice as often as Palestinian guests, with many of them being invited back multiple times. I think the grossest is Jonathan Kornikas, or Conricus, of the actual IDF, who's been on about 7 times.
Jesus Christ.
No Palestinian's been on more than 3 times. Israeli guests never received pushback about debunked claims of beheaded babies, rapes, people being burned alive, and at one point, Zoe Daniel, who was at that point a Teal independent MP, she lost her seat, she was allowed to say, Hamas habitually uses the Palestinian people as human shields, without, like, a demon exploding out of her tongue or the host saying, well, that's not true.
Yeah, just being like, hey, source?
Obviously, if a Palestinian guest says the word genocide, every single time the hosts jumped in to say, Israel does say that what is happening is not a genocide, or to correct that there is contestation about the idea of it being genocide. Like, the deck is completely stacked because of the preconceived assumptions. Anyway, so back to Iran. On the 15th of June, Adam Harvey shot out this turd of a hit piece. The headline was, Israel has the upper hand, but a humiliated Iran is still a serious threat. So we have some of the worst here, treating this like sports, personalizing and infantilizing a country's reaction to a few hundred dead people, but also reminding you that it had to be done due to the scary Iranians. Here's the first chunk of the article.
Iran is wounded, humiliated and weakened, and extremely dangerous. Senior military and nuclear chiefs have been assassinated, some in their homes. Israeli commandos have struck tightly guarded air defense installations. Agents have smuggled drones deep inside the state, exposing Iran's feared internal security as inattentive and hapless. Maybe it was looking the wrong way. When I was in Tehran in 2019, I was accused by one muttering security agent of being a spy, despite being accompanied everywhere I went by a government-provided minder. It might be able to arrest student protesters and enforce headscarf rules, but it can't touch Mossad's operatives. It is harder now for Iran to retaliate. Its Syrian ally, Bashar al-Assad, is gone. Its Lebanese proxy, Hezbollah, has been decapitated. The Houthis in Yemen harass shipping and launch the occasional missile, but they're not an existential threat to Israel.
So that's all there's so many red flags there. First, the fact that these military and nuclear treats have been assassinated in their homes is treated as some kind of humiliation, as opposed to random terrorism targeting residential structures.
Yeah.
The Israelis, however, aren't terrorists. They're agents or commandos. You know, those are the words that Adam
heroes.
used. Exactly. Iran, they're not paying attention. They're too busy following around foreign journalists like fucking Adam. Like, they should have fucking thrown him in prison. But yeah, like they're these paranoid little hapless babies. They're
so stupid over there. They're so easy to kill. They must be so embarrassed.
They must be so embarrassed and paranoid. You then get a reminder of what we're told the stakes are. This is a false binary. That arresting student protesters and forcing women to wear headscarves are on one side, and that Mossad is on the other side. Israel's decision to attack Iran has nothing to do with their opposition to cultural conservatism. They are not thinking about hijabs and women's liberation when they bomb apartment blocks. I mean, we already spoke about the Evin prison. How can any inclusive political movement specifically target holding cells for trans people? The goal for Israel is not for Iran to be a nice democratic utopia, but for not to be stable enough to internally mobilize enough resources to influence the Middle East or whatever. Boring shit. Have a big army and pump oil and regulate shipping and whatever else. Israel doesn't want that.
No, Israel needs to be the one who has the big pants.
Exactly. So we then get some more terrorism glazing. So when this dickhead Adam says that Hezbollah has been decapitated, he's referring to the pager attack, also known in Israel as Operation Grim Beeper.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. If you didn't know about this one, basically, Israeli spies or saboteurs or whatever, they made a fake company that makes pagers that Hezbollah was buying from. Hezbollah, we should talk about Hezbollah one day, I don't know. But they're a resistance group in Lebanon, Syria, the Levant and such, if you don't know. They pose a geopolitical or military threat to Israel and thus are considered terrorists by the Western media. Anyway, so then Israel rigged all the pagers to blow up, killing and injuring a bunch of people. Just gross movie villain shit.
Yeah.
All over Lebanon, a bunch of pagers blow up, being held by people in their homes and stuff.
Yeah.
And when Adam describes the pager attacks, he doesn't mention that Israel did it, which I suppose is implied, but maybe you're meant to know, but it kind of frames it as a magical thing that's happened in the past and not relevant to what's happening today.
Yeah.
Now, Adam, this fucking doofus, he told us that some people were assassinated in their homes. But later on in the article, he does repeat the Israeli, we only do perfectly just war and perfectly targeted strikes propaganda. This is from later in the same article.
But any significant death toll in Israel from missile attacks would prompt more severe Israeli strikes on Iran. And next time, Israel might not confine itself to attacks on military installations and nuclear research sites. Surface-to-air missile sites have been destroyed across Iran, and its weakened air defences have yet to take out a single Israeli jet. So he's just like lying and just being like, oh, by the way, they've only hit like, government sites or like nuclear sites.
Yeah. So then why are
why are those people dying in their homes out of interest?
Why are the
do they
Iranians
live there?
humiliated?
Yeah.
Well, but I thought it was because there were people being assassinated in their homes, Adam.
Yeah.
Fucking
Come on, Adam, tell me what's going on.
might not confine itself to attacks on military installations?
They already aren't. Like,
When have they?
the absolute audacity of people to just so headstrongly believe that Israel is doing the right thing is maniacal.
Absolutely.
Like, it's so fucked in the head. Like, you have to be some sort of mentally disturbed person to think that any of this is okay or just or suitable or anything. Like, it's just on the face of it. If I remove the names Israel and Iran from news reports and I just say like country A and country B, like, of course people are going to be like, wow, country B is being a real cunt. And it's like, that's Israel. That's Israel. Sorry.
Whoops. No
it's like,
way.
oh, actually, no, I think country A sucks, actually.
because country B has the right to defend itself.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, okay, my bad.
I forgot about country B defense. Adam is doing shoddy propaganda, and I think he knows it, but he finishes off saying that negotiations with Iran to freeze their nuclear program were going nowhere, which is like a Trump and Israel problem. But then he turns around and says, Iran might now abandon the pretense of negotiations. So that's him implying that Iran doesn't negotiate in good faith anyway. And it's like, what? With Israel and the United States, they don't negotiate in good faith with Beelzebub and the Great Satan.
Yeah. The people that are constantly blowing them up.
And
They don't
lying.
actually want to, and like fucked up all their systems and stuff. Of course you wouldn't.
No.
These people are your enemies. Why would you deal with them like A, I think they probably are going into negotiations with some sort of like, hey, we're just trying to make this work.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make this work, guys. Like,
Yeah.
please don't bomb us again.
Please don't bomb us
But
again.
also, full transparency, I would not be making deals with either of those countries if they continually killed my people,
Yeah.
rigged all of my fucking systems, and just like blocked me from any sort of international capability. Like, that's insane.
That is.
It's
It doesn't ask the question like, well, why? Like, hey, if they're not negotiating in good faith, why?
yeah.
What's
Going on?
What's
It's like,
going
oh,
on there?
evil, and it's like, well, evil's not real, so
Evil's not real, my friend. So let's pop over to a different article by Jacob Grieber, which explains why we're over here talking about this in Australia.
as the world holds its breath over Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu's arm wrestle about whether to drop US bunker busters on Iran's nuclear facilities, Australians have every right to feel confused and concerned. Is this proof we've inadvertently yoked ourselves as a nation to the whims of madmen? Does the US-Australia alliance, normally a source of national comfort, hide fearsome consequences? Will we be drawn into a new conflagration involving nuclear powers? Do we have a choice? Is our sovereignty at risk? Or is there a logic to what Israel is doing against Tehran's nuclear program that serves the interests of Australians, even if we dislike the process? Disarming a dangerous regime accused of spreading terror around the world must surely be a good thing.
Surely.
Surely that's good.
The whole article's written in this smarmy, insufferable, eyebrow raised, I'm just asking questions sort of way.
It's like, I just think that, if we're the good guys, right, then that means that they're the bad guys, right? That just makes sense.
This is what makes sense. There's this, it's hard to unpick what's semi-sarcastic and what's an assumption we should all have. Like, when he's like, the U.S. alliance, a source of national comfort, is like, is that really? Like,
Is it?
is it comfort or is it just this worry and fear? Like, oh, we're parties to some bad deals and it's going to come back and get us one day.
You know, I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like it's everyone's just kind of like, well, it's better than being on the other side.
Yeah. It's like, I hope it holds for the next day. I just hope it holds till I'm done.
You know? It's
But
like, hey,
It's clearly
better to
can't
be
work.
the, lackey of a monster than what it eats.
Yeah. The article doesn't mention the times we followed the United States into illegal, pointless, lethal, and destabilizing wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
No, why would it?
In living memory. Why would it? It's a source of comfort. For it's really comfortable that we helped destroy those places.
Yeah.
The article's also trying to inoculate us against feeling bad, against asking questions. Jacob isn't interested in whether the premise of Iran being a uniquely dangerous nation is worth investigating, especially when they're being compared to the United States and fucking Israel. We're little woe is me Australia, having, I hated this, but yeah, inadvertently yoked ourselves to the whims of madmen. How could we have known that the psychos would act like psychos?
You know?
Jacob lives in a silly world. He's living in the world where the war is going to happen one day, and the question is how involved Australia is going to be. He has ceded to that universe in his head. Jacob is saying pretty much what the big dogs in charge have always been saying. We're going to have a brief look at what the political classes in the country have to say about all of this, starting with our esteemed foreign minister and Shouldn'ta Come alum, Penny Wong.
Oh, Penny.
Obviously, her instinct was to urge Israel and the US to prioritize diplomacy and express her alarm at escalating tensions. You never hear, like, a condemnation.
No, of course. Very
pretty-
worried about this situation.
She's really worried. I'm pretty sure Hamas was condemned on, like, The Project, in Parliament, on The Footy Show, but never Israel.
Fuck.
On The Project, actually, Waleed Ali was speaking about this initial press conference on a podcast the same week. He's like, so one of the first things Penny said was Israel has a right to defend itself, and the journalist asked, well, what if every country acted like that? What kind of world would that be? And Waleed and his friend Scott go into a long discussion about what self-defense actually means. And it was interesting, I suppose, but at this point, it's a distraction. Like, I'm on record unreasonably sledging Waleed Ali for no real reason, but I did like listening to him talk, and their chat was kind of interesting in a legal context, but a million years late,
Yeah.
like, trying to talk about what is self-defense and what's a preventative strike and what doesn't constitute a preventative strike, what's a real threat, what's not a real threat. It's at one point Scott, his friend, repeats the lie about, people really thought Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. And Waleed's like, what? He's like,
It's like, bro,
"What?"
I don't think so.
Everyone knows that everyone was lying, but Scott's like, no, they really believed it. But anyway, back to Penny. So, before any official military reaction from Iran, Penny let out this, I have to assume, completely ignored warning.
The fastest way out of danger is for Iran to come to the table and stop any nuclear weapons program. Ultimately, the Iranian regime has to make a decision about whether it is going to continue down a path that is so perilous.
So this table that they're talking about, the negotiation table, you hear about all the time that Iran or Hamas or Hezbollah or Palestine or Sudan or whoever dark-skinned country won't sit down at the negotiation table, and that's why we have to go to war.
Exactly. Why won't they just be civilized like the rest of us?
We have to teach them a lesson. That's what it sounds like, and the more I read about Foreign Minister Penny Wong, the whiter she sounds,
Yeah.
Like, stone cold, hey, let us walk all over you and do whatever we want, darky. Israel must be allowed to exist and expand so we can continue our extractive, exploitive, wicked-ass ways.
Yep.
The thing about this negotiating table is that the United States and Israel have repeatedly put whoopee cushions on it and thumbtacks and dead fish on the chair you have to sit on, and if you point it out, it's anti-Semitic and they'll hit you.
Yep.
The crux of what this issue is about uranium enrichment. A big question that went around the news was, what exactly does Iran have? How enriched is the uranium? How quickly could that turn into weapons? Are they technically able to make a nuclear weapon? Unsaid is that Iran somehow poses a unique threat by having a nuclear weapon that no other country with a nuke poses.
Yeah.
That Iran somehow specifically does. I think the conversation about how close exactly Iran is to having a big bomb is a distraction. It's an intentional waste of everybody's time debating poorly understood nuclear science with poorly sourced data. And here is the big obvious reason why. Karen, your next slide is a table of all the countries with nukes, sorted by the amount of people in that country per nuclear weapon. So, nukes per capita. Can you tell us what the lay of the nuclear wasteland is?
Okay, nukes per capita. We have Russia with 4,309 nukes. which is 33,000 Russians per nuke, followed by the US, who has 3,700 nukes. They've got almost 94,000 people per nuke. We've got Israel at 90, I guess allegedly. We have 105,000 people per nuke. Yeah, so what we got? Russia, US, Israel, France, UK, North Korea, Pakistan, China, India are our top 10?
Exactly. Those are those are the countries with nukes.
Yeah.
Those are the 9 countries with nukes in the world. And out of those 9 countries, Israel has the third most nukes per people.
And they have the least amount of area, squared kilometer per nuke.
Exactly. So Israel has a nuke per every 250 or so square kilometers. That's absurd. The next lowest is the United Kingdom. And they have all these ocean territories that they store their nukes on and stuff.
Yeah.
Israel is a tiny little landmass with somewhere from 90 to 400 nukes. If they have the 400 nukes, they have a nuclear weapon for every 70 square kilometers.
Which is insane.
So we briefly spoke about before, Israel has this policy of deliberate ambiguity when it comes to nuclear weapons, so they keep the rest of the world on bated breath as to whether and when and on whom they'll drop them, if they have them. They, like we said, have the comfortably least land area per nuclear weapon, so there's just this tiny, extremely volatile and heavily armed country pointing at a neighbor and accusing them of planning a nuclear genocide. Yet despite their non-signing of the treaty, the International Atomic Energy Agency collaborated with Israel to investigate Iran, despite a history of fake Israeli intelligence about Iranian nuclear programs.
Classic.
They're not even signed to the treaty. Why would they be a party to the investigation?
Yeah, why are they getting involved? Well, because they're very special. They have a very special status as being allowed to do whatever the fuck they want.
Whatever the fuck they want. So we'll get back to Penny. She did a press conference on the 13th of June with Anna Lee, one of a couple of Muslims that Labour keeps around to save face. Iran was one of a few topics they were addressing the media about. Do you remember that plane crash in India?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they talk about that for a while in the press conference, and I'm like, damn, that's crazy. That happened the same week.
Yeah.
But the substance of the press conference was about the starvation part of the genocide. Israel doesn't allow in much aid, and as we know, they have a documented history of siphoning that aid into gang-style organizations that create more chaos within Palestine wherever they can. Penny and Anne were announcing $5 million to the Jordan Hashemite charity organization, who were accused of profiting up to $400,000 per aid drop, and another $5 million to UNICEF. I'll remind you that they gave $32.5 million to the Adas Israel synagogue when it burned down.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, it's painful to hear Penny describe the carnage in Gaza without describing the carnage in Gaza. Here is her description of what terrible ill has befallen the children there. As you all know, the situation for the people of Gaza is catastrophic. Civilians killed by the thousands, people starving, children going without food and medical supplies, schools, hospitals, and homes destroyed. I know so many Australians are distressed by the suffering, and many Australians are frustrated that we have been unable to move the dial on our own. But as I said, that doesn't mean we can do nothing. What's causing the catastrophe, Penny?
Yeah. What is this just come out of the... That is worse to me. That is worse to me that you can talk about what is happening in Palestine and all of the horrendous things and genuinely be yeah, we can see that people there are suffering and not say anything.
No.
It would be better to just completely ignore it, in my eyes. If you're going to say Israel's in the right, then you don't have the right to, be oh, it does really suck what's happening.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You're part of this.
Yeah.
You are part of this. People's blood are on your hands as well. It's not as much. You didn't pull the trigger, but you're out there applauding for a murderer. Yeah. You think that that's okay?
And saving face, holding cover.
It's just
laundering.
Disgusting. The way that... it's just disgusting. It is fucking disgusting.
Look, it's not as though she can offer no condemnation of Israel in her statements. See, what Penny wants to do is provide more humanitarian assistance, which is another problem we can talk about, but whatever. The problem is the aid just isn't getting to the Palestinians, and here's why. Aid is being prevented from reaching those who need it. Children are injured and children are starving. Israel's ongoing restriction of aid into Gaza is costing lives. Israel must allow aid to enter unhindered, and Australia has consistently been part of the international call on Israel to allow a full and immediate resumption of aid into Gaza in line with the binding orders of the International Court of Justice. We repeat that call today. Why do the people need aid?
Yeah, and also, so you can ask Israel, like, hey, stop blocking aid, but you can't condemn them for blocking aid?
You can't condemn them for blocking aid, and you can't ask Israel to stop causing the conditions that require the aid in the first place.
Yeah.
Given they are doing that, why would they allow aid in? They're trying to kill these people.
They want them all dead. Why would they want you to help them?
Why are we acting as though they don't explicitly want to kill these people?
Yeah.
Why do we have to speak as though they are acting in good faith?
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Being like, oh no, Israel doesn't know what it's doing. Israel knows exactly what it's doing.
Like, Israel, we wouldn't... The fact that they're stopping aid wouldn't be a problem if they weren't bombing everything.
Yeah.
It's in the same speech that Penny describes Australia's long-standing friendship with the people of Israel and how important it is for us to preserve that.
Whatever.
Which, like, I don't have any friends in Israel.
Neither.
Like,
nor do I want any.
No, all the people I know who, like, could have Israeli citizenship specifically don't because they don't want it.
Yeah.
Like, I know so many people like that. Treating the monsters over there with kid gloves as if any criticism of them has to be delivered with the sandwich method, like bookended with confirmation of our ultimate support for their aims and goals.
That's fucking stupid.
Because Penny started her press conference reacting to Israel randomly bombing a bunch of places in Iran with this.
Australia is alarmed by the escalation between Israel and Iran. This risks further destabilizing a region that is already volatile. We call on all parties to refrain from actions and rhetoric that would further exacerbate tensions. We all understand the need, the threat of Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. It represents a threat to international peace and security. So does Israel killing people.
Right? You'd think so, right? Like the threat. And what about the threat to peace and security for people in the Levant who are getting bombed? That doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter that Syria, Lebanon, like
Palestine,
Iran, everybody's catching fucking strays from this insane nation, and nobody wants to do anything about it.
Nobody. And it doesn't matter. It's all part of the plan, the bigger picture. Iran is the threat. These dastardly Persians, these whirling dervishes, you can't trust them. And if they can get even a single nuclear weapon, one single international bargaining chip, then the entire world will end. The entire world.
Whole world, huh?
That's why we only allow the good ones into Australia. The ABC did a couple of pretty similar articles. We're going to focus on one of them that was released on the 15th of June, titled, Iranian Australians Share Mixed Emotions After Israeli Missiles Kill Regime Officials. These articles present a model of the good Iranian, one who's able to see a big picture, ultimate for the greater good in Israeli bombing of Iranian neighborhoods, because it might destabilize the regime. This, to a normal person, is ridiculous. Sorry, we're going to let Israel and America burn the whole country down to change the government. Hopefully we'll be able to build something better out of the ashes.
That's insane.
It's also ridiculous if you ask many prominent critics of the Iranian government, most of whom have a different opinion over what constitutes the greater good that doesn't include terrorism.
Yeah.
The BBC compiled some quotes, including an exiled TV presenter saying, "It's a delusion to think that Israel's attack might liberate Iran. Netanyahu's true goal is to disintegrate Iran." And a joint statement from a bunch of religious exiles who say, like, they condemn Israel's criminal regime from attacking Iran, their homeland, and they say, when it comes to our external enemy, we all speak with one voice. They're like, hey, they stay out of this.
Yeah, we have our own inter-Iranian issues. All of them don't involve us being like, yay, Israel.
Yay, Israel, just
all of us are like,
destroying us.
fuck off. We have our own shit to deal with.
Yeah.
Which we will deal with.
And you're not going to make it better, and in fact,
Yeah.
you're making it worse.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to keep clear of trying to analyze, like, the Iranian government in this episode. I don't know anyone from Iran who has any positive things to say about the Iranian government. We've heard about the heinous activities of the government, the religious police, especially towards women, religious minorities, and ethnic minorities. A fair few prominent Iranians in the West did mention that in their statements, which were like, Israel has committed an aggressive war crime against the terrible regime. Like, they're still like, hey, Israel fucking bombed this terrible regime. Like, a bunch of people who are run by this terrible regime. They're like, you know, they're saying, like, the situation's worse because of how bad the regime is, but they are saying, like,
But
hey,
you can't just bomb them.
exactly. Nobody's like particularly sad about the military commanders that were killed, but I'll reiterate, I don't know if I actually iterated this in the first place, but more than half of the deaths were civilians.
Yeah, of course, because as much as Israel has those precision missiles, they do intend to kill people. Like, they do intend to kill, like, citizens.
Yeah, in their houses.
It'll be nice to get some, like, you know, officials and stuff, but mainly however many we can kill is
That's
fine.
important. Yeah, and because the idea that this action, this large-scale demolishment, a multi-fronted attack amid decades-long international strangulation, the absolute fiction that the outcome of all of that is a free, democratic whatever, is an insult to everybody's intelligence.
Yeah.
The outcome, as we know from Iraq, as we know from Afghanistan, is devastation. A wasteland disconnected from electricity and clean water with a brain drain and increasing famine.
Yeah.
So at a time when there was some kind of international feeling that an actual send the boys over war might start, the ABC found some Iranian Australians who were able to see both sides of this complicated issue of, again, large-scale bombing of Iran by Israel. We first have Noz from the Iranian Women's Association of Australia, who weighed up the terror of family who heard explosions and saw their windows rattling, with the sense of relief that high-level members of the regime were killed. You have to assume that's proportional, right? 5 parts relief, 95 parts fear, because of how many civilians were killed. But the ABC mentions that Noz calls it a cause for celebration because of Iran's fundamentalist Islamic regime, which has a record of arresting, detaining, and killing people who speak out against it. The article uses that to lead into Rana from Oz Iran. Rana says this.
It's very human to feel a sense of relief that people who are responsible for the killing of your beloveds are getting targeted and killed. And it's also very human to feel nervous about the uncertainty that is evolving right now in Iran and with the reactions of the regime.
Again, presenting this false binary that Israel is trying to destroy Iran, including bombing women and civilians, to ultimately somehow free Iranian women and civilians.
Yeah, it doesn't. And this has nothing to do with that.
No.
Like, it really doesn't.
No, but the ABC can frame it this way. And what this does, if you get into the weeds, is set a trap. That if you don't support Israel, you support Iranian women being forced to wear the hijab and getting murdered in honor killings. Is that what you support? As if crippling the energy capacity of Iran would improve the people's living conditions.
Any of those situations.
Right. So Rana followed this up by going on the Australian Jewish News' new podcast, Conversations That Count. The host asked her about her feelings about a ceasefire, and Rana said, although a ceasefire would bring, less destruction, people will be happy there's no missiles falling on them. There's tremendous fear in the Iranian community about what will happen afterwards. So she got her to say,
Meaning what?
We're worried, well, what will the regime do to people after the ceasefire? As though the risks of a not ceasefire is good for the Iranian people, as though a larger scale war would be good for the Iranian people, is the implication of what she's saying.
Which is insane.
The journalist, as it were, interviewing her, Anna Pasternak, called the plane bombing of Iran a modern-day miracle in reporting.
Oh my fucking God.
And she made sure that Rana condemned the propaganda around October 7. She was like, they're saying, like, death to America, death to Israel, and in Iran, she made sure Rana had to go on record saying, like, that's not good, Iranians and Israelis, we are friends, blah, blah, blah.
That's bullshit.
Siamak of the Australian Iranian Community Organization, says the weird thing. He explains why this is confusing and why people might feel misled.
This is a paradox. Because if it was a normal country, being attacked by a foreign force would have been really bad. But the attacks are mostly targeted. Siamak said there were still fears of a full-on war because innocent Iranian civilians would likely be the most affected.
There's fears of a full-on war because innocent Iranian civilians would likely be affected. 500 had already been killed.
Yeah. People are already affected. It's done.
It's ridiculous. So the ABC found a few Iranians, not for nothing, all people working in the not-for-profit world and thus needing to stay in the government's good graces, and got them to concede publicly that it's good that Israel killed all those people last week because it might destabilize the government. And the reason that's good, despite the context that it would have been destabilized due to large-scale carnage and destruction, is because of the ultimate evil of the regime. And that evil has nothing at all to do with the United States and nothing at all to do with Israel.
No, of course not.
So, let's merge our things. Finally, we've got Penny Wong being interviewed by David Spears on the ABC. David asks her, hey, well, look, Penny, people around the world aren't super happy about Israel's, so-called preemptive strike on Iran. And he's like, hey, Penny, what do you the Australian government think about that? Does the Australian government think that Israel did the right thing in bombing these people, and was it legal for them to do so? And Penny says,
Well, let's step through what we know. We know, the world knows, that Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program is a threat to international peace and security. And we know that Iran has been found by the UN watchdog to be in breach of its non-proliferation obligations. This is why we have sanctions against Iran, because we understand the risk to international security. What I would say is the key issue is not, is there a threat? We all know that.
we all know there's a threat. Let's step through what we know. We know there's a threat. The question isn't if there's a threat.
No, the question is was it good to bomb them?
Yeah. So David's like, okay, that's nice, but like, are you critical of this decision from Israel? And they have some more back and forth. And then he asks it as clearly as possible. He's like, and like, I think David Spears a fuck ass anyway. Like, I'm not here to say, hell yeah, David Spears. But he says, does Australia think what Israel has done was justified and legal? And Penny Wong, representing Australia, says,
Well, Israel has a right to self-defense. It does have a right to self-defense. But the question here is not a legal proposition. The question is, what do we do now? We know Iran is a threat. We know that its nuclear program poses a threat to international peace, and obviously to Israel. What do we do about it? And how do we respond in a way that lessens the risks of more civilians, particularly in the region, being brought into this conflict? Girl, what the fuck are you saying?
Israel has a right to self-defense.
Israel has a right to self-defense. We know they're a threat, and Israel has a right to self-defense.
We all know Iran's a threat. We all know Iran's a threat.
We all know it. We all know it.
All of us know.
All of us know it.
We all know. Hey, everyone's been saying Iran's a threat.
Hey, I'm hearing this thing. Iran's a threat.
I'm hearing Israel has the right to self-defend against Iran.
Have you heard about the new trend? Iran's a threat.
Iran's a threat. Skibidi toilet.
Viral Dubai. Iran's a threat.
So yeah, that's what Australia thinks. So then a few days later, when the United States follows up with more bombs on Iranian nuclear sites or whatever, somebody asked Albo, hey, what do you think about the United States bombing Iran? And he knows what Penny knows and what we all agreed upon. All of us.
Every single one.
Every single one.
The world has long agreed that Iran cannot be allowed to get a nuclear weapon, and we support action to prevent that. That is what this is, Albanese said.
Yeah. We support preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, which we have all agreed they have to not do, and that's what they're doing, and we have to stop them.
That's just...
For international security. Penny ends up having to go on Sky News to defend that because Albo wasn't strong enough in his support of the United States. He wasn't fierce enough in his not condemnation of Israel, I guess.
So fucking dumb.
Penny and Albo are very rigidly maintaining that the attacks on Iran are about Iran's nuclear program and nothing to do with Palestine or Israel or anything else like that. Just about Iran's nuclear program. And this half measure, because it doesn't make sense. Like, it can't just be about the nuclear program.
No.
Because on the face of it, then why is Israel the country bombing?
Yeah, why are they involved?
Right? So this leaves room for their dastardly enemy ScoMo, who is always the opportunist. And he makes a statement that at least makes internal logical sense if you're a Zionist Islamophobe. ScoMo says, I think there's been far too much ambiguity about this from Australia because it's time for clarity. The clarity is we are dealing with a theocratic authoritarian state that sponsored an attack on a close friend in Israel back on the 7th of October, and they have shown their true colors. And Iran is not a friend of Australia. It's not a friend of Australia's interests. This is a conflict not with the people of Iran, who are wonderful people, creative.
What?
Iran is not a friend of ours. We have to stop the theocratic authoritarian state, and that's not Israel somehow.
Yeah, I was like, damn, you're really describing Israel.
And then Iran did 7th October, you see. So this is what that reveals is how the pendulum's going to swing the other way. You basically have a mirror to the voice for parliament. The Labour Party is pushing this middle of the road, both sides have a point, but we must somehow, for some reason, still support the Israel line, and it doesn't make any sense.
No.
The only reason you can build to support Israel in a moral, ethical, historical sense is to align yourself with white supremacy, and Penny Wong can't come out and say that.
No, funnily enough.
Yeah, but ScoMo can, and that's going to embolden the kind of people who want to hear it. So, well, people who casually vote Labour will fall further away from the Labour Party, especially to the left, People who casually vote One Nation will fall back in line with the Liberal Party, being like, well, they're saying the thing we need to hear. We all want to bomb Iran.
You know?
They'll take the country again, and we'll all have to rally behind Jim fucking Chalmers to save the country from a sudden theocracy.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, also, we didn't end up getting confirmation of whether Australian sites were used to make these bombings happen. That would be the first time the United States has used Australia to bomb the Middle East since the dog days of last October, when they used Pine Gap to bomb Yemen or whatever.
Jesus Christ.
So I figure there's someone in Darwin with a Battle of Iran 2025 military badge or whatever.
Fuck.
The ABC ended up taking a victory lap on the 20th of June. Two of their Lowy Award winners, and you'll remember Frank Lowy, so Eric Tlozek and Shireen Yazbek, pissed a eulogy as the dust settled. Its defenses are smashed, its allies are quiet, nobody's gonna help Iran. It was kind of like a best of. The mysterious East, the incredible power of Israel's security apparatus, the haplessness of the Iranian government, and a random mention of the context, which should change the whole tone of the article.
While Israel has clearly been planning diligently to attack Iran, the Iranian government and military have proven unprepared and incapable of responding. As Israel did with its devastatingly accurate intelligence against Hezbollah, including booby-trapping pages and walkie-talkies, Israeli operatives had extensively penetrated Iran, allowing Israel to quickly weaken defenses and dominate the skies. Iran, struggling under sanctions and repressing its citizens for years, has repeatedly proven ripe for recruitment and infiltration. The country's advantages, a large mountainous landmass, a big population, and a standing army, have all been nullified by a swift, intense Israeli air campaign. They thought they could go to war against Israel with their soldiers on the ground. They had absolutely no idea that war in 2025 is fought against an invisible enemy. They were completely unprepared for this modern form of warfare. None of this is to say Israel's attacks, particularly on scientists and residential areas, are legal under international law, or that Israel had a casus belli, or legal justification, for attacking, while Iran, which had previously signed a nuclear control deal, was in the middle of negotiating a new agreement with the US.
So, like, if that last paragraph, then why the other paragraphs?
Yeah.
Like, hey, if this was probably illegal and they had no reason to do this and Iran was negotiating with the US, then why are we fucking slubbing Israel's operatives'
Being like,
knobs?
wow, I can't believe that they actually, just blew them up.
And Iran doesn't know wars fought against an invisible enemy. It's like, why don't they have planes? Has someone stopped them?
Yeah. Hey, it's crazy. I wonder if there's a reason why they haven't been able to adapt this technology. I wonder if there's a reason why they haven't been able to, do certain advancements.
Yeah.
I
Are there
wonder who's
sanctions?
stopping them.
What's in the way? They're a big country in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be hard for them to get technology.
Weird.
As we know, this phase of the conflict ended pretty quickly. The missiles are still kind of flying every once in a while, but Donald Trump said a swear word and everyone went, oop.
Oh my god.
Really weird. Like, I know that's not what, happened. Like, he dropped all those bombs and then bombs and stuff, but that's kind of what was reported, that Donald Trump swore and everyone stopped. We'll keep our eyes peeled about this, but it certainly does seem that the ABC and the government are suffering from an orchestrated campaign by pro-Israel lobbyists. And that is what we are going to look at next time. Gosh, Karen, how are you feeling? Are you excited to goose step your way to Golbahar on behalf of Mother Zion?
You know that I am. I fucking hate all of this.
Yeah, me too.
You know? Not much to say other than this country is a massive disappointment, a huge embarrassment, and continues to be just wrong in the stupidest ways.
Yeah. Just, I guess, I don't know if I'm more annoyed at... Because I guess, I don't know, Penny Wong and the ABC aren't really addressing me. They're addressing some, a middle-of-the-road voter, I suppose. But just, I guess, being talked to like an idiot, especially just we know that they're a threat. Israel has a right to defend itself. This was the right thing to do. We support that they did this.
It's just insane.
We can probably stop the podcast.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for listening. If you're interested in what we do and if you'd like to support us, please follow us on Patreon, which is patreon.com/shouldntacome. SHOULDNTACOME.
Nice.
That's also our email address, shouldntacome@gmail.com. Contact us. We will have Karam's fundraiser in our description for the episode. And yeah, if you can reach out and help, that's always appreciated. Otherwise, stay cool and I don't know, if you're in possession of nuclear weapons, don't bomb anyone with them.
Give them to someone new.
Yeah.
Give them to give them to Somalia.
Yeah, give them to Somalia. Let's see what they do.
Let's see what they do. Let's get some nukes in Africa.
Yeah, I want a nuke in Fiji.
I want a nuke in Suva. That sounds good.
Oh.
Yeah. Suva, Fiji. Suva
Yeah.
is Fiji.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, bye, everyone. Good luck getting your nukes.
Bye.